Hey guys, Brandon here with Texas Revving, and I'm making a video I'm so excited to make because it is on a vehicle I love oh so much. This is my 2025 Ford Ranger Raptor, and boy is it almost perfect. That's not a clickbait title, I mean it. No car or truck could really be perfect, but man, it could be close. And this truck is pretty close, but it has some points that make me develop a wish list. And so I thought I'd kind of go over some of these things. Real quickly to set the stage, if you guys have never been on this channel before or seen it in my videos, I'm lucky enough to where I have this, but this is not my only vehicle. I have one more truck and then some recreational cars as well. So I say that just to kind of set the stage for you guys to know that when I placed an order on this thing, it needed to do a couple things very, very well. Obviously, I figured it would be really good just utility-wise and daily driving, so no surprise there. But given that I didn't need this truck because I have another one as well, it really needed to be a lot of fun. That's what I was going for. The reason I mention all that is my expectations for this truck were quite high, and I'm glad to say, before we even dive into it, all my expectations were not only met, but very much so exceeded. So I'm going to dive into that in this video a little bit more. Let's start broad, and we'll hone in on it a little bit closer. The Ranger Raptor is not the poor man's Raptor. I get that a lot. Again, I'm very lucky enough to where I also own a 2024 Raptor R. I don't say that to show off. I say that to just shut people up, because so many times when I'm making content with this thing or when I'm just driving it out and about, it's surprising how many people approach me and ask, could you not afford the F-150 Raptor, even the EcoBoost? Anyway, that's a whole different rabbit hole I don't want to get into in this video, but just in the car community and truck community, there's this elitism that you are representative of your car. It's immature and it's really stupid. The Ranger Raptor, although it is the smallest, it is the cheapest of the current Raptor lineup. So many people just remember it being the cheapest and they think, oh, maybe someone couldn't afford the other Raptor alternatives, whether it's the Bronco Raptor, the F-150 Raptor, or F-150 Raptor R. I'm here to say that is so not the case at all. This baby Raptor does things that those other ones cannot do, simply put. Obvious, the size. I am so used to a full-size F-150 Raptor. I've been driving a Gen 1 for a couple years. I've finally got my 2024 last year, and so I got to know that truck really well. Also, I'm in Texas. I don't drive in the city that much. A full-size truck, I just kind of got used to and I enjoy. However, every now and then, especially out here in the ranch where I need to get kind of tight into some trees to do some work out here, the width of an F-150, you're very well aware. And so without some paint protection film, you'll get those Texas pinstripes, we call them, and the truck just rubs against a bunch. That's just out here though, boo-hoo, your truck gets scratched, not a big deal. Out in day-to-day traffic, if I happen to go into the city or a parking garage, now I'm worried about if my truck could even fit in the parking garage. Parking spots can be very, very tight. If we go way into Austin, I try to avoid downtown Austin, but sometimes you gotta go and the truck just takes up a spot and a quarter. You get around that by just not caring or hoping that you get inside that parking garage. Not the end of the world. Many times these trucks don't fit in your personal garage. I'm lucky that my Raptor R does fit, just barely. All that being said, this isn't about the F-150. There is zero of any of that concern with the size of a Ranger Raptor. Got a shorter wheelbase, your turning radius is tighter. I fit into every spot just fine. If I happen to go into the city, I know, God forbid, I fit everywhere just fine. That's the boring stuff. Out here though, it just is so easy to get into tight trails, and you know, you just kind of pick and choose what kind of application is best for you. But the size is the ultimate takeaway I got from this and the ultimate reason I ended up buying one. I mentioned it's easy to drive, and that goes down into two different ways. On the road, it's easy to drive because, well, the size, the visibility is great, and then all the modern amenities. 360 cam toward the overhead view makes it so easy to park. All the parking sissy nanny stuff, it's actually kind of helpful. It's got some good cruise control, advanced cruise control too. And I like that there's not a button to press, say okay, then set the speed, hit okay again. One button and it just matches the speed that you were at when you press that button, and it's advanced cruise control, so it keeps the lane. It's not autopilot from Tesla or nothing like that, but I'll tell you what, I've done some long trips with this thing and it's pretty nice. You just hit a cruise control button, it keeps your lane, and it reminds you to tug the steering wheel just a little bit every now and then. Advanced cruise control, kind of like it. That's the easy to drive part on the road. If you're immature, you want to keep it in rear wheel drive, turn the traction off, easy to just thrash around. It is so much less intimidating to actually just put the hammer down on a Ranger Raptor than it is an F-150 Raptor R. Obviously, a lot of that's to do with the weight, sure, power, whatever. Don't get me wrong, it's a ton of fun in the Raptor R, and that's why I still have that truck. It's not going anywhere. But something about this, I can't help but to look back at footage and I am just smiling way, way more, whatever that might mean. It's got great balance. From stock, the power and the torque for off-roading is great. It does have the Ford Performance Pro Cal tune as well, so it gives a little bit more oomph. By the way, I really haven't done a whole lot of off-roading with that tune, so we're gonna get some good impressions in this video as well. It says Raptor on it, so obviously the suspension's awesome. I could leave it there, but let's dive into a little bit more. The suspension is so, so good, but something to know with Raptor suspension is if you go over a speed bump slowly or any curb or whatever slowly, it's gonna feel like any other truck suspension. This stuff really shines the faster you go. So you just have to pony up and just hit things at high speed. And this thing is insane. It's got a little bit of air at this ranch as well. And it just feels like a not road legal side-by-side dune buggy. And all of a sudden you hit the road and it's a total sissy. That is, if you want it to be. You could also turn traction control off. And because it's a truck, there's not a lot of weight in the rear, but that's where the power is being put to. And so it does a lot of skids on the road very easily as well. When it rains, it's as if it has 700 horsepower. That's an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. This may not apply to everybody, especially up north, but oh my goodness, I'm so glad the air conditioning works as good as it does in this truck. Far better than any other car I own, the other F-150 Raptor I have. It could be a scorching hot day. You left the truck outside. Obviously, right when you get in, it's gonna be really hot. You leave it on fan speed 2 of the lowest temperature, and then it's just a matter of a couple of minutes before it feels like the refrigerated room of Costco. I'm not kidding. This thing is really good. Obviously, we know it's not a full-size truck. It is a mid-size truck, but it's got to have some of the most usable sized rear seats of the mid-size segment. Full-size adults, we get back there no problem at all. So to wrap up on the positive side of things, this truck is as good and even better than I expected it to be on the road doing day-to-day things, so much so it just became the full-on workhorse. If I need to go somewhere, it's always this truck now. But that's one task it had to do. I've been kind of itching for some fun off-road toy, but without the means to really haul it as of right now. I don't have a trailer, but man, some really nice side-by-sides or like the Can-Am Mavericks or whatever, they get up to the price of a very, very nice car. They kind of creep up to the price of a Ranger Raptor. And now that I'm bombing around the Ranger Raptor out at this property, I really feel like I'm not missing out on much. This thing is a total toy. If I took the plates off this thing and never registered it for the road and just kept it out at the ranch just as a toy, I would say it's worth it 8 days of the week. But I get to do both. And that's pretty cool, and that kind of summarizes the Ranger Raptor. After everything I just said, sounds pretty perfect. But of course, like I said, it's not. But it's oh so close. Let's get into some of the things that are a little less than ideal, some of the things I knew going into it, and some things that I didn't until I started driving it. The first one's gonna be very broad, and I've mentioned this a lot in my previous videos. It's very broad, I know, but just bear with me. The Ranger is always one tier below an F-150. That sounds obvious, I know, but what I mean by that is I wish the difference was just F-150 is bigger and the Ranger is smaller. Other than that, there's equally nice of a truck, but it just has less features. Even fully equipped, they don't offer it to the Ranger just because it's just the Ranger. Let's not compete with the F-150 too much and take away from the sales of the F-150. I wish the F-150 kind of just sold itself because of its capabilities and towing capacity and overall room and storage, and let the Ranger kind of sell itself because people just need less of that and just less of a truck, but still need a truck. But keep all the nice amenities there. Let's dive into some of those. Not so much that this doesn't have it equipped, it's never even an option, but it doesn't have a bed cam. Every now and then I'll miss that. It's not even an option. It's got electronic seats with 3-position memory, so that's cool, but the mirrors are also electronic, but don't remember where you put those. So I have seating position 1, 2, and 3. For example, 1 for myself, 2 for my girlfriend, and if she gets in it, she could press the button, seats move and correct, but the mirrors she has to do manually, which means when I get back into mode 1, I could correct my seat, and now I have to set my mirrors. A small little burden, but why? You got a heated steering wheel and heated seats, which is nice, but there's no AC seats. In Texas, man, that'd be pretty darn nice. There's no option for a sunroof, stuff like that. Some people aren't even fans of them to begin with, but again, just to give the option would be nice. And so that's that. Again, kind of going ambiguous, and you just have to be here, really. A lot of the tactility and the touchy feel stuff is just not anything like an F-150. As simple as where your sunglasses are. That little sunglass compartment just feels cheaper in thin plastic. In an F-150, it's really, really nice. The window switches just feel cheaper to an F-150. It still has a Bang & Olufsen sound system, and it's not bad, but the F-150 is so much nicer. Obviously, this all makes sense when you look at the huge price difference, but I wish the price difference was just, again, in the size and capabilities of towing and stuff, not just because you wanted the smaller truck and so now you can't have as nice sound system. I just wish they let this truck have all the nice amenities as possible, and the size is what sells the vehicles. Going along with size though, the one place you really shoot yourself in the foot by going smaller is not at all in how it drives, that we love that, but definitely in storage, unfortunately. It's not all bad. You have a traditional glove box and then a box on top of the glove box, and then you have your center console, which is a lot smaller, we know that, but what I love about trucks, at least the trucks I've had before, all the full-size stuff, is you can lift the rear seats. By the way, they're split into a 2-seat bench and then 1 individual, so you have some control. Let's say you have a child seat or something like that. But however you get those seats up, you have so much more room there, and in the new F-150s, you have all that room, plus an additional box behind all that. Not to mention, in an F-150, there's no hump in between as well. Looking in the back of this, there's a hump, and so that may not be good for your middle passenger if you're gonna look like they're on a squatty potty or something. But even then, when you lift up the seat, it's all one bench. All 3 seats are in one bench now. There's no control for individual. And when you lift them up, you have some suggestions of storage. They're just a couple little cubbies. That's about it. and for many of my cases, it's not quite enough. It gets quite a bit better gas mileage than my F-150 Raptor R for sure, but you wouldn't really be able to tell well after you fill up because you're gonna be filling up more because the gas tank is fairly small, 20.3 gallons. I wish it had something more edging closer to 30, would be very, very nice. In case you guys don't know, the Ranger Raptor has no engine option in the United States, and that is the best of the engine options worldwide. It is the 3-liter twin-turbo V6 shared in the Bronco Raptor. And like I said, pretty good torque and power from stock, 405 horsepower. I forgot the torque rating, but it's not too bad. And then Ford Performance has a tune, the Ford ProCal tune. It has a warranty, all that good stuff. I just made a video with it not too long ago, so you guys want to see what that's about. Adds 50 horsepower, another 106 or 107 pound-feet of torque, so it's in the 530s now. 455 horsepower, 5 horsepower more than an EcoBoost F-150. However, if you're rolling on the highway and you really need to pass someone, you're already doing 60, 70, 80. With the tune, it got quite a bit better, but what it didn't fix, and it's been there, is turbo lag. Now, if you're an automatic and you floor it, you're kind of used to it because you're used to the truck having to pick the gear, then floor it. But even if you're in paddle shift mode, you know you're in the high revs and you're ready to go. You step on it, the turbos are just asleep at the wheel. And once they get going, it comes on pretty strong for this truck, but turbo lag, still there. That's really the biggest negatives I could say. I don't know, I'm gonna have to check my odometer. We're at probably 8,000, closing in on 9 months of ownership. No issues with this thing. It's just been a great purposeful utility vehicle, but then also just a lot of fun on road. When it's raining, when it's dry, if I want to be just a total hoon, it's great. Off-road, that speaks for itself. We're going to do a little bit of that in this video as well. I have no regrets buying this thing, and my goodness, it's just awesome. So with that said, we went through all the good, talked about some of the less than ideals, none of which would ever get me to where I regret this truck. If this truck was gone today, I'd have another one within the week, hands down. That's how much I like this thing. That doesn't mean it's perfect. We already went through that, and it also doesn't mean I don't have a wish list. And that being said, I'm crossing my fingers and hoping Ford or some big brass at Ford or someone at the Ford racing department, because it's no longer Ford Performance, it's Ford Racing, hoping someone's watching, because this wish list, I don't think it's unrealistic. I think we could totally make the perfect truck. Let's work together here, Ford. Let's talk about it. Let's go with the big one. I don't have any problems with this engine. I am absolutely more of a naturally aspirated or supercharged V8 kind of guy. In the case of this truck, I allow it, but that doesn't mean I don't wish for a V8. How awesome would it be, this truck with the V8? And maybe also from the factory, because maybe with the V8 it can have more horsepower, some 35s from the factory. All right, so back it down. The EcoBoost F-150 starts off having 35s and an EcoBoost. And then as an upgraded option, you can have the EcoBoost with 37s, that's a 37 package. And then for the ultimate, you get the R, it's 37 standard with the V8. What if the Ranger Raptor went through that same thing just on a smaller level? Offer this Ranger Raptor as standard, then offer a EcoBoost Ranger with a 35 package, because again, they have 33s, and then offer a Ranger Raptor R, one with 35 standard and with the V8, even if it's not supercharged, a naturally aspirated V8 with a low 500 horsepower range or so, maybe 500 flat even, I don't know. You guys figure out that part. But man, a Ranger Raptor R, I think would be my perfect vehicle. Unless they make a Raptor version of Mustang, count me in on that too. So that's the hardware under the hood for my wish list. The rest of it, you guys already know, like I mentioned, just let the Ranger Raptor be the nicest vehicle it can in the mid-size segment, and don't pigeonhole it so much to the F-150. Give it all the nice amenities, have better upholstery, have more seat options, more color options. Some people won't like the code orange accents. More exterior color options, although I love desert sand, I wouldn't change it. Now let's go ahead and get into the finances of my proposed Ranger Raptor R and why I think it makes a lot of sense. Starting off with this truck with no option starts around $56,000. Now, not for a second will I pretend $56,000 is a small amount of money for anything, but I will try to argue that it's pretty darn good value considering the performance of the truck and just the fun factor. So this truck here being $56,000, all optioned out, I didn't hold anything back. I'm just a tick over $60,000. The only Raptor I think is better value than that is a pre-owned Gen 1. Other than that, this is probably the best bang for buck. The next step up is an F-150 EcoBoost Raptor with no options, and those start right around $79,000. There's a huge gap there. You could option in the 37 pack and some other stuff, and you could be in the low to mid 90s. Once you go to the Raptor R and have the supercharged V8, you're up to like $115,000. So let's back it down. 56,000 all the way to 60,000 and change. And then the next step up isn't all the way until like 80 something grand or so. Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down? I know it would be expensive. It's just a Ranger. It's just a working man's truck at the end of the day. Why has it changed so much? I know, just let me have this. But where it costs like $34,000 to go from a base F-150 Raptor to a Raptor R, What if it was half that? What if it was $15,000 more to go to a Ranger Raptor R? So that $56,000 to $60,000 range, what if it was somewhere around low 70s to mid 70 for a Ranger Raptor R? I know, a lot of money for Ranger, but hey, wouldn't you rather have it as an option and not choose it and go get something else? Call me crazy, it's done well for me so far. I'm just out here saying I would buy that truck. I'm almost done, I promise, but one more thing on my wish list. I don't think it looks bad, especially now that I've done some things. We'll get into that, but I do think it deserves to look a little meaner. I think it might be too early for a whole refresh, but I'd sure be open to it. But it doesn't look bad by any means. It's just when you look at the competition, this thing smokes the competition. Tacoma TRD Pro, Colorado ZR2. Performance-wise, Ranger Raptor beats it, and for a little less money too. However, it definitely looks the softest of the three. Not bad, just very soft in my opinion. So if they make the Ranger Raptor R, maybe make it look like a baby version of an F-150 Raptor R. Just shrink it down a little. I think that'd be pretty cool. I don't buy it for looks. I definitely buy it for the grin factor behind the wheel. But I did kind of improve the looks a little bit, if I do say so myself. We added on this ADD bumper. With it, we've got 4 of the rigid lights on there as well. I went a little bit more in depth on that in a different video, so check that out if you want. Put a shorter antenna on there as well. I put on some black lug nuts on there, and then the Ford Performance ProCal tune. That's about it. That's how this truck sits. So let's go ahead and go for a drive. Right now, I'm just gonna hit R twice. That is my mode. I programmed that. To open the exhaust valves, it is normal suspension and sport steering. We're gonna start like that, but of course, rear wheel drive and traction control off, and not just pressing it once, but pressing and holding for advanced track off. And there she is. Okay, okay. Like I usually do when I'm demonstrating something off-road like this, we're gonna go ahead and just keep it like this in the normal mode, but you know, fun because rear wheel drive traction off. And then, but it really doesn't hold the revs too high or anything. It's not a sport mode or anything like that. We'll go ahead and go into Baja mode in just a little bit. Man, the cars that are the most fun, or in this case trucks, are the ones that make you feel like a better driver than you really are. Because I will be the first to tell you, I'm not an expert race car driver, rallycross driver, or whatever, and I don't plan to take up that career choice. We caught a little air there, heck yeah. Forgot that jump was so quick, it's all overgrown. Ranger Raptor handled it just fine. But like I was saying, I'm in my late 20s. Too late to take up a racing career. So now the best thing is to get into vehicles that make you feel like those itches are being scratched. I recently made a video with my buddies Cayman GT4. What a great example that was. A very, very capable car. Just so fun to drive, just easy to drive though, to where it makes you feel like driving more spirited than you initially planned on. Years and years ago, one time someone gave me the opportunity to drive their Huracan Performante, and I thought I am not going to push the limits at all, and sure enough, I don't feel like I did. But I go back and watch that video of me driving that Huracan Performante, I'm like, damn, I was bombing down that road pretty good. But that just spoke to that vehicle. It was so fun. Same with that Cayman. This little baby Raptor is that in a Raptor off-road mid-sized truck form. It really is. I get out here, I'm going slowly because I'm talking to the camera, but man, the angles you can put the butt of this truck in getting into a corner makes me feel like I am such a good driver. And like I'm just some Gymkhana, Ken Block rallycross driver, and I am not. That's the point. It is just so fun, and this is why I get a Raptor. Now, unbiased, is the Tacoma TRD Pro or even the ZR2 and ZR2 Bison package, whatever, are they better in some departments? I think they're marginally better in crawling. I think they have just a little bit more clearance, especially the Chevy with the 35s. But I'm not a crawler, and knowing that, this is what I like to do, and it's not even close. This is the best of the midsize trucks for that. And then, little Ford versus Ford, I think is the best Raptor for it too. And when I say that, I mean feeling like you're rallycrossing, just going nuts here. We caught a little bit of air already earlier on. We are just coming out sideways in these corners. And that is just what it's all about. By the way, this was a ton of fun pre-tune. The only difference I'm noticing with the tune, the butt of the truck is leading me even more. The angle I'm getting is quite a bit more, so I think the power is just getting delivered quicker. It feels awesome. Big bump here. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of speed. Just eats it up so nice, man. I'm doing all this, I forget, this is my go-to weapon for all my Costco runs too. But man, it does this so well. Having this much fun, it's hard to imagine I even had a wish list at all. All I'm focused on is just doing this. But man, imagine doing this with V8 sounds. Come on, Ford. made a whole cloud behind us in dust. There's a little whoop here as well. Oh my goodness, it eats it up, man. The fun I'm having right now is the kind of fun I was hoping I would have if I bought a, you know, Polaris or a Can-Am of some sort, but I feel like at this point, I just don't need one. Turbo lag held up just a little bit there. Then again, we're not even in Baja mode. Maybe we would try that. All the rattling you're hearing, unfortunately, that's just some of the stuff in my cup holder. Sorry about that. I've had this for, like I said, 7,500 miles now, 8, pushing 9 months, and I'm still having this much fun. I do this all the time, by the way, off camera. This truck has gone through it. So now, keeping it in rear wheel drive, what's gonna happen is I think when I go into Baja mode, it might try to automatically change that. Where's Baja? Oh, it's over to the right. All right, keeping it there, and sure enough, it's gonna try to go into 4 high for me. That's not why I bought this thing. Let's go ahead and go back to 2 high. All right, Baja mode, 2 high. Turn traction control off once again. Freaking machine. Little bump here. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, it's a machine, man. Okay, so quick little demonstration. We're gonna keep it in this mode. Baja, all the fun stuff, make sure we're still recording. And here's what I don't normally do, and you guys are probably gonna see why. Let's go ahead and put it into manual mode. The paddle shifters are actually pretty cool on the road, in my opinion. They're pretty responsive. It's not a dual clutch supercar by any means, but they actually shift, you know, more responsive than you would have thought, up and down shifts. But it's more so for the road to have more of that manual control. Off-road, when you start losing traction and the steering wheel starts going, you know, a couple rotations, you just get lost. And with 10 speeds, you are just too busy. It's just not worth it. But here's second gear. We're gonna come out of this corner a little sideways. Hold third. I want fourth. Where's fourth? There it is. Yeah, that wasn't the worst example, but there's some times where the steering wheel was just upside down. I'm like, I'm just needing 2 more gears by now. And it's just not my way of off-roading for me personally. The automatic transmission does a fine job. I was busier grabbing the gear there than correcting the steering, but we're fine. Yeah, I think I'm kind of done with that, to be honest. Now on the road though, paddle shifters, like I said, they're actually better than I thought. You just feel like a hero in this thing. Those are my favorite cars, man. The ones that, there's no reason to make them hard to drive, but driving like this, it just feels so inviting. One more rip. Let's do one more. Faster you go over that, smoother it is. It's crazy. Oh man, all right. The truck's done great. I think it deserves a little bit of a break. Gosh, I love this truck. I just love it so much, man. I mean, because of the kind of driving I like to do. I love cars, I love trucks, I love off-roading, on-road stuff too. a little bit of everything. And I hear those fans going now, yeah, this thing wants to cool down some. It just makes you feel cooler than you really are, and that's some of the best vehicles out there. Take everything we just did, throw it out the window. It's just a great truck for on-the-road stuff. It has just been awesome. We'll see how long-term really plays, but the only reason I won't own this truck is because it gives me so many issues, hasn't happened, or it gets replaced with something. The Ranger Raptor R, or maybe there's a Mustang Raptor of some kind that makes me love doing all that kind of stuff, and I could keep my full-size Raptor to make the difference make more sense, but already I feel like the trucks are different enough to where I justify them. What I'm saying is, as of right now, with what's offered out there, there's nothing that will do it for me. I love the idea of a 911 Dakar or a Huracan Storado. I'm not gonna spend, you know, over 300 grand on a thrash around vehicle, but mid-50s starting for something like this, and that's what it's really made for. How can you go wrong? Shut that guy down. That is it for that, guys. The Ranger Raptor. If you guys buy one and don't off-road it, you'll still enjoy the heck out of it for sure. You're definitely missing out on more than half of its potential as far as fun factor. But I mean, we go back to 1999 to 2004, the SVT Lightning. I know that wasn't made for off-road, but just the way this feels, even on-road, just having fun and drifting around, it almost gives me that kind of vibe. But it does the off-road stuff very, very well. Of course, that did have a supercharged V8 with side exit exhaust. Anyway, come on, Ford, make the Ranger Raptor R. Guys, I love this truck. You guys already knew that, but maybe now you really understand why. That does it. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys next time.